Hello, I'm James, and I'm an old guy in Europe. Hello, and welcome to another episode of An Old Guy in Europe. Once again on the Good Morning Portugal Show with Carl Munson back in July of 2022, Carl and I talk about tidying up for guests, bureaucracy, attachment and suffering, managing expectations when immigrating, and the difference between pain and suffering. I also share an anecdote about my language learning on the fly, and my first Festa do Pão de Mafra, or the Mafra Bread Festival. So please, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
James.
Oh,
Yeah. Was I going on a bit too long there?
No, when you said you were keeping me off, I tried to make what I thought looked like a sad face, like I was just back here waiting, so sadly waiting for my time.
For your moment to come. It is here, James. Slug on a rug this morning. How are you? Tudo bem?
I'm doing fabulous, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Busy weekend, getting ready for the in-laws who are coming to stay for a few weeks. In fact, going way past the guest rule of, 3 days. Should be like a fish.
3 days.
3 days and they're off. Yes, but no, 3 weeks it is. It's going to be fantastic to see him, I have to say. But it's funny. I don't know if you're like this. Some people live, they have their house the same all the time. So when they welcome guests, they don't have to do a lot of work. I noticed that when we have a royal visit like this, we notice that we live in squalor for the rest of the time. I don't know how you fit into that. Do you make a lot of effort? Should people come to stay?
No, not really.
Take you as you find you.
In the past, back my old life back in California, it was just good friends and family. So who cares? It's like,
That's the spirit. Be careful. One of the old pizzas on the table there. I'll move them one day. Yeah, I see. Okay, very good, very good. I think that shows a great sense of self-esteem and personal security, which, of course, you talk to us about on a Monday morning. What has been on your mind in this department?
A couple of things. You just reminded my good friend in California who's been helping me with taking care of U.S. business that still needs to get done, like driver's license stuff. She and I made a pact at one point years ago that we never have to clean our house for each other. So that was just very relieving. It's like, all right, we are going to love each other less because our houses are messy. Which reminds me that I know Rebel Mama has made mention of the bureaucracy in the state of California with the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, which handles the certified driving record. I waited, well, let's see. Initially, I submitted the application with the money. They sent the whole thing back 3 weeks later saying they wanted an original signature. I had attached a copy of my signature on the form, but they wanted original. So went through the process of reprinting, remailing, sending off to the United States for a week or two to get there, and then proceeded to wait 4 months. And finally, I'm the same friend in California has been helping me with this. And she said, still haven't heard anything. They haven't even processed my check. And I said, okay, well, I guess we'll start it all over again. And last Thursday, I put the second signed application in the mail to her so she could then forward it to the DMV. And on Friday, the original came back with the certified copy. So 4 months later, I took it as kind of giving the universe a nudge, saying, "Come on."
and right enough, it happened.
Yeah, sometimes it does. That we were both astounded. It's like, what? Okay, well, there it is. Let's get it going. So now we're on to the next step of getting it to the consulate, which feeds in kind of nicely to what I was considering talking about today, which was attachment. It seemed appropriate under those circumstances, and when I got to thinking about it, it's a fairly significant issue with the whole immigration process. Due dates and time of processing and getting answers and all that stuff is around our expectations, and we get attached to it even if we don't notice it until we get frustrated. I think Thunderduck's situation with his driver's license exchange is one of those examples. It's month after month after month. Is it now? Is it now? Is it now? Managing those expectations can be incredibly difficult, especially when the impact of the results are so huge on our lives. So the whole immigration process is one of managing expectations, and the only solution that I'm aware of for attachment is letting go. And how do you do that when something is so important? So to me, how I define attachment is needing things to be other than they are, right? Yes. So there's the old, things are what they are, and we throw that one out a lot. But attachment is a little less clear sometimes. It's the grasping of an idea or an expectation that things should be different than they are. And the observation in Buddhism is that all suffering is the result of attachment, needing things to be other than they are. Anyway, I often say it's be easier for me to say what I haven't done than what I have done in my life. But I was a preschool teacher at one point, and I observed many, many little preschoolers running around, falling down, hurting themselves. And it just really hit me, the distinction between pain and suffering, that, and pain is in the event, the suffering is the attachment to something. Is a child running around falling down, and say two children, and they both fall down and they skin their knee. And they both come to you crying, "Oh, my knee, my knee, my knee." And then you clean it up and you put a bandage on each one, and one just says, "Thanks," and they go off and run and play. And the one says, "Oh, my knee, it hurts, oh, make it stop hurting, I can't go back and play." So that one is an example of letting go of attachment, like taking care of the pain. Pain's gone, boom. The suffering exists and or the pain isn't gone, but the focus on the pain is gone. I've let go of the pain, I'm off to play. Where the other one, the focus remains on the pain and creates suffering because they need the pain to stop in order to be okay. And that in a nutshell is how I try to simplify the distinction between pain and suffering. And it's a tricky balance because the pain, the thing that happened, in this case, let's take it to the DMV for me, or the immigration process, the stuff that's happening is our focus, right? That needs to change. And then we get all upset and we spend 3 months being upset that it's not different than it is, rather than saying, what can I do about it? Do that and wait, let go of it. It's not in my control. So we get back to that issue of control. So a lot of it is in the managing of expectations. And I've been working on this one for years. I didn't even realize how many expectations I had and how upset I would get when they weren't met. I mean, I had friends who got afraid around me because I was not dealing well with an unfulfilled expectation. Something was supposed to happen a certain way. Getting a new... I'm sorry, what?
It was as bad as that you actually how they had you in their understanding and experience was that you were somebody likely to react to something not going your way.
Yeah, well, I never had a tantrum or threatened anybody with violence, but my face would get red. I'd get an expression. I'd be really trying to control that internal almost rage that someone had said this would happen this way, and it's not happening this way, and that's causing other people to have to wait, and that's looking bad on me. So ego's in there too. All that stuff is going on because the phone wasn't delivered to the store when I was supposed to pick it up.
Outrageous.
And I got comments from friends that their energy was kind of, ooh, back off. James is getting into that space.
He's going there. Yeah, that's right.
It's going to explode. And I realized I don't want to be that person. That's not who I choose to be. But that was well over 10 years ago. And because a good many of my friends are what I'm referring to now as ancient millennials, they're in their mid to late 30s. So, they're moving on in age. Such a different way of setting up schedules and making arrangements to get together that change at the last minute almost constantly. And for someone who wasn't used to that, for someone who values a commitment, and I take a commitment as a promise. So if I say I'll be there at 7, I'll probably be there at 6:50, but I will definitely be there. To have someone say, oh, this came up, so I'm going to cancel, at the time we're supposed to meet, was very difficult for me. And so I got lots of practice in letting go. I think I made a mention of the expectation of the world conforming to my standards was far less likely than me conforming to the world's standards. So that was my practice.
James, this is so fascinating. You have got Will Rogers on your side this morning, though, haven't you? I think
I do. I think that I looked at it after I posted it. I said, I think they punctuated that incorrectly. I think that first period is supposed to be a comma moving into the next phrase, may, but.
Okay. So the worst thing that happens to you may be the best thing for you if you don't let it get the best of you. And that's exactly what you're talking about this morning, right? It's when it starts to eat you up and you go into all those scripts about, well, it shouldn't be like that. The unfulfilled expectation, one of the 3 great upsets, of course, what is it? An unexpressed communication, an unfulfilled expectation, and a thwarted intention. There are only 3 kinds of upsets. You and I have both done the Landmark Forum, and I think that those great insights come from there. As I'm sure do many other techniques for letting go. I mean, basically that's the gist of what your thrust this morning is about, letting go, isn't it? And if I may, I find what really helps as well is some practical action with it. So I guess with those kids, you've thrown some magic dust on their grazed knee, which has been the practical action that has resolved for at least some of them, if not all of them. And then with the driving license situation, I guess, if you do all you can possibly do, there comes a point where letting go is the only intelligent thing to do, right?
Well, if you don't want to be living day-to-day suffering, at some level of suffering, and again, it's all about that choice. So you notice, I'm in that situation in the store where I'm about to be all enraged internally, or am. It's like, if I notice, I can choose something else. And that's what the practice of letting go has been, is ongoing noticing, choosing, and then acting accordingly, which always, I mean, this may be being redundant at this point, always when I notice it, I start with a deep breath, because that will always settle me down and help me to get centered and focused on taking the action appropriate for what I choose. I don't want to be suffering. I don't want my friends to be afraid that I'm going to, be an asshole or something, I don't want that.
Well, saying pain is inevitable. It's a bit like when you buy a car. I don't know if it's the same in the United States, but some things come as standard, some things are optional. And I think pain comes as standard for human beings. It's part of the dynamic in which we live, which, the Buddha and other great spiritual teachers are very, very strong on this sort of stuff. Pain is standard, but suffering is optional.
Well, I know for me, I talked before about being pissy, being in that when I wake up for some reason, and then saying, well, it's okay to do that. You can make that choice if you want to. There's nothing wrong with being upset. You can be upset if you want to. You don't have to change a thing. So that's the noticing. So what do you choose? It's, well, okay, I'll just be pissy right now. And it's like that in that moment, it's like, why would I do that? So what you're saying about intelligence or logic or whatever it is, it's like, why would I choose to stay in this state if I know I don't have to?
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
I think most people will shift in that awareness. Most people will, they'll figure that out and say, oh, that's right. I don't like how this feels. I'm going to change that. But some people get stuck in it. Some people aren't even aware that they're stuck in anything. So it really is a matter of the practice you've had in becoming self-aware and making choices around that.
Yes, and getting Mr. James Holly onto the screen on a Monday morning as well, which will help with that. The big test of our work this morning then, James, is to see if anyone wants to fess up to letting go of something this morning. How's it going with your immersion in Portuguese culture? You're at the Mafra Festival. Tell us a bit about that, if you will.
As far as the language goes, a little at a time. I've often said to clients, you can't watch your children grow. You can't see your progress in therapy. I'm discovering it's the same with probably almost anything, but especially with language. So I'm realizing that I'm able to read things and say things much better than I was able to do 6 months ago, or almost at all when I first got here, and that's been 9 months ago. So I'm very impatient. I want to be able to speak fluently now, and I think we all get frustrated with that. But when I step back and I look, it's like, okay, it's better than it was. Yesterday at Pingo Dos, I was standing in line, and the woman at the register made some hand motions to me and said something in Portuguese, which I always say is like, and I stood there and I said, okay, I don't know what she said, so I'll just make a gesture. So I kind of went, like you talking to me? And she said, no, not you, the one behind, but I didn't say anything. She just clicked into English with me. I said, how could she tell?
Yes. It was a terrified look on your face.
Yes. And my housemate, Louisa, was in the store as I finished up the process. And I did what I can in Portuguese, but she was speaking English to me. And I always try to make a point of appreciating when Portuguese people speak English. And so I thanked her. I said, thank you for speaking my language. That's what I do. And then I compliment them on their English and tell them how much better it is than my Portuguese, which they probably have already observed.
You don't say.
Yes. But then as I was leaving, Louisa said, I overheard the young woman who had helped me saying something to her coworker, and we were leaving, and Louisa whispered, she's saying how much fun it was to practice her English.
Oh, wow.
And I said, oh, see, so happy to be of service. I said, I'm really becoming Portuguese, helping the Portuguese to speak their English to me.
Yes, keep it up. Excellent service to the community. And Mafra, James, Mafra you've been to. I mean, it looks...
Yes. Well, I've been to Mafra a few times. Amazing old palace, huge building. And I've only ever been in the cathedral, which is also huge. Again, that kind of gets redundant when you're talking about the Catholic Church. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a small chapel in the Catholic religion anywhere in the world. So they do their cathedrals really well. But this is in a park kind of to the side and behind that, which I had never seen before. And it's called Pão de Mafra, which bread of Mafra. It's the bread I order when I go to the pasteleria in Ericeira. But anyway, it was the Pão de Mafra Festival. And it was fun. It was a beautiful place. Oh, there's a picture of the front of it. I've seen that a lot. But if you go to you can't, but to the left of this building from this image and a little bit behind is a big park with lots of trees. It's really quite pretty.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Thank you, Joel, for these pictures, by the way, that he sent me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had our version of their parade, the parades that you shared, but relative to that, it's the equivalent of a small rural village experience, because there were 20 people in like old peasantry clothing, maybe not peasants, but anyway, they tried to dress in the period correctly, and one drum and one accordion and 20 people, and they were kind of walking down this dirt path I said, what's this? And Louisa knew, so she said, let's go over here. And I said, okay. And they were coming on a stage to dance. I took a little video of it, but it was folk dance, and it was about, as I said, roughly 20 people. And they were playing one accordion, and one guy had castanets, and someone else, I don't know what the instrument is, that goes reachy, reachy, reachy when you scratch it. And that was pretty much it in terms of instruments. And then, and you had people, doing folk dancing. I made the joke because when they first got on, they were just sort of walking in a circle. I said, oh, I could do that. And then they started dancing. I said, never mind. I could not do that.
Yes.
And the thing that really impressed me with that is there was stomping in it, and they were on a stage. So there's like stomp, 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 like that. I was like, wow. And so really the energy of the stomping really brought it alive. It was a lot of fun to watch. So I videotaped some of that, and I took a photo of the entrance of the park.
It. I thought I was alone, James, going through the license thing. Also, not fun, says Joe Diaz, who's down the road from me.
I feel you, Joe.
Yeah, that's right. You can have a support group, can't you? That's a practical step. There we go. A teacher of mine taught the idea that upset is optional. And if you can catch yourself, what is that? Let's conclude then on this part of the show. That 3-part process of yours, James, finally this morning.
Notice.
Yeah.
You have to notice it before anything can happen. Once you notice, make a choice.
Yes.
Third part is take the action appropriate for that choice. And there is sort of a fourth that I don't think should be missed. It wasn't taught as I learned it, but it was added on as an addendum, which is celebrate. Notice that you took the action that made your life better. You took action, so celebrate. Yeah, I did that. Good for me.
Superb, James.